Hello everybody, this is Jan Schönemann from Lifestyle Dentistry. Today I want to talk about metal ceramic. In the previous video I talked about the paste opaque and bonder, and today of course I will talk about the first bake up. Before we start with the first bake up, I want to talk in general what I use every day. So it starts of course with a brush. In general I worked with a natural hair brush with a very fine tip. Let's get in focus here. Okay, as you can see, the positive thing on the natural hairs is of course that you have the moisture, the water depot inside the brush. The negative side is even during using the brush every day, maybe you lost the fine sensitive tip. So a lot of people then of course they switch to a synthetic brush like this Nera here from Smileline, which have a very sharp, very fine tip, and at least for long period. So you have the long time fun with that. So the negative thing is with the moisture in the brush. This can be a benefit for some technicians. I personally like to have a little moisture. But then the next level of brushes is here the Respect brush from Smileline. In my opinion, this is something really new because we have here a synthetic brush with different synthetic hairs, and it feels like you work with a natural hair. Very fine tip, super great. I love to work with this. Okay, so far so good with the brushes, but you have to decide for yourself what you like to work with. To the ceramic, of course, we have to talk. Basically I work with NOVACer ceramic. I love this material. Today I will build up here this case here. This is the final one, and of course I do not do every 6 elements. I will just take one off, and I will just build up one central. I think you can see everything. It's not necessary to do the whole interiors. Okay, so if we do metal ceramics on metal copings, of course we need different materials. In case of that, in order to build up a color of A2, I will start here with an opacious dentine of NOVACer MC, opacious dentine A2. So that will follow with an dentine A2. So, and as well, I will also modify this dentine A2 in the last part, in the incisor area. I like to increase the saturation of the dentine. So I will mix a 50% neutral and 50% dentine. So then I have a smooth transition in the incisal third in the upper part, so, and also to have a better contrast to the mamelon fingers what we're gonna place. These mamelon fingers we're gonna place with an dentine modifier. This is in case of A2, I like to use this dentine modifier 3. This the color is a little bit like ivory, something like, it's opaque stuff, high fluorescence, very intense, so be careful not to use too much of it. Small portions, you will see during the build-up how. So what else? We use this Effect Transfer Blue. Blue should be always covered with enamel, otherwise it changes. If it's on top of the layer, it easy change into a gray touch. So the enamel what I use today is the Enamel 2, and we have different enamels in the NOVACer ceramic. So it's kind of an effect powder for me. Some of them are more translucent, more gray or more white. It depends what you're gonna achieve at the end of the firing. One of my favorite materials is the neck transbar light yellow. It is something very special in my opinion. Even not only because it's called neck transbar, it's not only used to be in the area of the neck, even in the incisal area. It's brilliant to use this in several cases, because you have a nice warm translucent color. It's super great. I love that. And finally, we also will use transbar opal. Transbar opal, also be careful not to use too much. As the name said, opal, if you use too much of this material, it can change even a little to white or to brighten up your crown or your build-up. So be careful with that, but you will see during the build-up how. Okay, I do mix these powders, of course, with different colors, and that makes really sense for me, because I want to have kind of a color code. A color code for a didactical way that every technician in the lab works with the same colors, to have a color code. So no mixing. This is a pre-mixed material. The name is contrast liquid. So you have 6 different colors and 1 neutral. Pre-mixed, it's all the same modeling liquid, but there's no mixing anymore. So every technician has the same mixture, and you can follow easy and control yourself during the build-up where your ceramic is being placed. So I love that really much. If you see this here in the overview, you can see here on my palette the different materials. For example, we have here the first, this is the opacious dentine. It's getting a little bit dry. I can push this a little bit to the sponge to get this wet again. So this is a nice way with a good mixing plate to do that, to keep them wet, of course. As well, we have here the dentine. We have here the dentine 50%. 50% with transbar neutral. We have here the dentine modifier 3. We have transbar blue. As you can see in blue, it's blue. We have enamel. Enamel is being mixed here with the green color, because these bottles are also having names. Like the green here is the contrast liquid enamel. So we have for the modifier, I like to use the chroma. So there are several different colors. In this body 2, for example, it's a little bit darker red, and the body 1, for example, it's more light. And for the neck, I like to use this yellow color. Super nice. Okay, so far so good. On the top you see here, this is the neck transbar yellow, and we have here the transbar opal. Okay, so let's go to the model. Here you can see the model. We have these 6 anteriors. I just built up 1 central. I think this is enough for today. Yeah, you can see everything, and finally we will have the result of all of them. Even for the first bake, it's important to know how much do I have to add to get the correct length of the central. So I would say let's get started, and with the first material. This is the opacious dentine. Let's get here this opacious dentine. I switched to another camera that you can see. So I take here this opacious dentine, and I'm going to place this in the area of the neck. So I like to have this really thinned up to the top, very thin, and even if you have less space, it's good to cover the incisal part or the top of the coping in a very thin transition here. So to cover the metal coping for the following steps. So maybe I have to change my glasses, otherwise I do not see. Let me change my glasses. That's always good, of course. To wear a loop, I have also a big size loop, but for this demonstration it's easier to do this with this kind of loops. Okay, maybe we get a little bit closer. So, okay, we have the opacious dentine. Now we got the dentine A2, and I complete the whole shape once in dentine. To have a better overview for myself and to reduce the material where it's necessary to reduce at the end or during the build-up. So I need a tissue. 1 second, please. So let's have a tissue here to get the moisture off. Okay. Okay, let's get the moisture off here. Again, dentine. This is going to be a basic build-up. In general, of course, you can mix different dentines if you want, or giving some kind of bleach somewhere to brighten it up. But today I just do a basic build-up. Okay. Okay, get the moisture off again. Control the length. Something like that. Okay, so let's see, have a look from the back. You can see I have a little bit too much here. I also can control the incisal edge if it's in the right position. So I will reduce now with my knife this part a bit. Again, control the angle of your incisal edge. To stabilize this, I will take some of the opacious dentine and place it here in the thin layer. So I stabilize the dentine from labial. As well, as I said in the beginning, we have almost less space in the intraoral part, so I like to cover this completely with opacious dentine, very thin. Again, I need a new tissue. It was falling in the water. Okay. So here we go. We have here a new tissue. Okay. So the rest from intraoral, I filled up this with dentine as well. Take your time by build up, because the first firing, in my opinion, is one of the most important thing, because whatever you place inside, it's there. You cannot change this after, really. And this is also the benefit of building up ceramic, because color comes from inside, not from outside. So maybe change the angle, getting a little bit closer. There you can see from the inside with opacious dentine, rest a little bit of dentine, labial fully built up. Now I'm going to take my knife and I will cut mesial and distal. I also reduce the upper third a lot to get it really, really thin, a little bit more. Like that. There was a cut too much here, so I add there a little bit of dentine again. Okay. So the last third of the build-up should be done with a desaturated dentine. This is the mixture of dentine A2 and transparent neutral. So again, fill up the complete shape in this mixture in the upper third part of the crown. Like this. So again, get the moisture off. Again, control your incisal edge. I just touch this smooth, that I have a nice smooth transition here as well. Okay. So again, I'm gonna reduce the mesial part. The mesial part here. Like this. And make it thinner. To have really a thin layer of this dentine here. So, and also I will do some little small cuts, not too much. And now it's time for the dentine modifier 3. Little portions, Therefore, it's good to have a brush with a fine tip, of course. You can see I place maybe here one little drop. Another one. Maybe we get a little bit closer. Okay. Take another drop of dentine modifier 3. Okay. So I do not want to have really strong fingers, so I cut this as well again a bit. Like that. And now I would take my transfer blue, this part in this area, mesial and distal. So transfer blue, almost a little bit in the back. So may you understand now why it is so good to have a color code. Let's get in focus. Sorry. Hello? Come on. Let's get focused. Okay. To have a color code, because if we see this in the overview, you can see here during the build-up that we have here the dentine, and there is these mamelon fingers. I mixed this in this time of the manual of NOVACer with yellow. So in the following step you see in the middle, this is the transfer blue. And at the end, you see a mixture of dentine, enamel, etc. So, but you have, as you can see with this slide, you can see you have really control where your porcelain or your powders are in place. Okay, let's go back to our modulation. Yes, okay. So now I will cover this with enamel. So it's getting a little bit too dry. I have to wet this a little bit, not too much. So now enamel, and I start to cover the enamel, the transfer blue with enamel. So it doesn't make sense for me to condense with an instrument or so, because I want these powders being separated, that I know this is there and this is there and this is there. If you condense, this is almost one paste at the end of the build-up. Okay. This is enamel again. So if you want to have a really nice incisal character, like a natural tooth, you should use different translucent materials. Like I'm going to use here 1 drop of the transfer opal, for example. Again, transfer opal, 1 touch beside the enamel. And again, following with enamel. So maybe I'll show you this a little bit closer. Maybe you see this better now. Take one little drop of transparent opal and I touch it there. And again, enamel. So step by step, we complete the shape from the labial side. Okay, get the moisture off. So now we can see nicely where our materials are in place. We're having control. Okay. There's a little air bubble. Okay, get this off. From intraoral, I use now enamel as well to cover this. Don't be too shy. Even it shrinks and we have to grind, so better to have a little too much material instead of too less. Again, enamel. Always only enamel here. If you want, you can have a little more warm color in the center, then use a little bit of this neck transfer yellow here in the center. To complete somewhere maybe some missing material, I add some of the opal, transparent opal. Like that. Okay, finally, we want this halo or opaque halo effect in the incisal area. This is gonna be done with a mixture of dentine and enamel. So I would take some of my desaturated dentine here, give it place there, take a bit of, let's say half and half, my enamel, come on, and let's take an instrument, take my enamel, half and half, and I'm going to mix this. So now I have this halo material for the incisal edge. So make this quite thin, and then we're going to use this on the incisal edge. that. Okay. So far good. We have this labial build-up, the palatinal, the intraoral side. We have enough material, I hope. Let's see after firing. Okay, so let's get this crown off the model. Get the moisture off again. Now I will take a sharp instrument to get my crown off the model. Okay, let's get this off. So from the logical part, we should have a little triangle in the approximal space because we have a labial build-up and intraoral build-up. As you can see, maybe here, now better, we have this little triangle here. So if you want to have a more chromatic material, you can add to your patient's dentine a little bit of orange or khaki or something, if you want, and to fill this triangle up, because then you have a better contrast. And even if we have parodontic problems, we lost space or we do not want to see any triangles, we have to build up this even a little bit bigger. So I do this a little bit more that you can see this better. So maybe getting to with the other camera closer. Oh, no, this was the wrong one. Let's go here closer. Okay. So you see here we have the opacious dentine like a nose. Same on the other side. I can add here a little bit more to close the interproximal space there. So we don't change the shape, really. We only add this material where we in general will have a black triangle, and no patients want to have a black triangle, and even there's always food between, and yeah. Okay, so we need to add the contact point here with enamel, and this is just enamel. Maybe the last tip, and here in the edge, a drop of opal. Again from distal side as well, enamel. Okay. So there is a little bit missing here. Even because we have so less space, you can use this mixture of dentine and enamel half and half, maybe to place some of characters here. Oh, some characters here in the back of the crown. Maybe like this. Maybe a second one here in the center. Not too much, just a little bit. Okay, something like that, maybe. Last but not least, I will take now this neck transfer yellow. Oops, I have to turn this. So a little bit of this neck transfer yellow, and I place this here in the area of the neck to have this warm color there. All the way around. Okay, good. So, take the moisture off again. So now we are almost done. So finally, this is the build-up here. And now we're gonna place this in the furnace. I fired this in a temperature of 895 degrees, keeping there for 1.5 minutes. But the heating rate is very low. I like to have 45 degrees per minute. So let the porcelain get time to, it's in the firing furnace. It don't need a pressure to be fast in that. And at the end, finally, we will have maybe a result like that. So there are just only little touches on the contact points, and this is the result after the first firing. So for now, I think this was more or less everything. I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you like this video, maybe you give a like below or subscribe. And next step will be the second firing, how to add these little portions, etc. And then finally it's going to be the texture and the surface. So on this moment, I would like to say thank you very much for your attention and hope to see you back soon. Thank you very much. Bye.